so toxic.
And in Sulphur, Louisiana, housewife Peggy Franklin begins to fight after seeing truckloads of chemicals dumped near her home.
But guess who got those chemicals? You and I.
Jumbo logic of the five gumbo. For tonight I'm gonna see my shadow me. We gotta go, me oh my. Son of a gun, we having fun, Dr. Bob.
You hear of the marshes, the wetlands, the water streams. Beautiful Louisiana, wonderful Louisiana. What have we got? A toxic state.
On September 28, 1982, a train with 43 cars containing hazardous chemicals derailed in Livingston, Louisiana. The crash set the town on fire and forced the evacuation of 3,000 residents. The chemical-soaked topsoil was then dug up, loaded onto trucks, and driven 50 miles to a dump site near Peggy Franklin's home.
How dare these people evacuate an entire community and then move that stuff to our area? Truckload after truckload after truckload of stuff. That's how I started. I started angry. I thought, you know, this is Calcasieu Parish. How dare them to bring it here? But after you get involved in this, how dare them bring this to any community?
Peggy lives in the farming community of Sulphur with her husband and 3 children. Until the contaminated train wreckage was brought to their town, they were unaware that for 10 years a toxic dump site was in operation just 4 miles from their home. This dump site, with its open lagoons of toxic chemicals, was ordered closed in 1983 by the Environmental Control Commission, when contamination was found in the underground water supply called the Chico Aquifer, the source of drinking water for over 1 million people. But after a lengthy lawsuit, the Louisiana Supreme Court ruled that the site could remain open. The court said that no laws had been broken, nor was there proof that the contamination posed a health hazard.
Once those chemicals are in that aquifer, you can't retrieve them. I don't care what they tell you. Sometimes I think, am I radical or what's happened to me? I mean, am I just being over emotional? Am I too sensitive to this? But I mean, our Chico Aquifer is contaminated.
I think everybody knows me. Public enemy number 1. It's just one.
Peggy and her neighbors felt betrayed and confused by the Supreme Court decision. They gathered to hear ideas from local leaders for a new campaign to close the dump site.
The message is clear. After the last tree is cut, the last river poisoned, the last fish dead, you will discover that you cannot eat the money. Thank you.
I'd like to explain to you why I've been so deeply involved in this fight. And I've got 3 of the reasons right here with me today. I'd like them to stand up. Adam and Charlotte and Elizabeth, my children. And I'm convinced that when we talk about hazardous waste and improper disposal of hazardous waste, that it's not so much our health, but it's our children's and our grandchildren's that are going to be affected in the future. As we recently saw, the Louisiana Supreme Court said that when you just contaminate an aquifer, that's not a violation of our Louisiana law. We have to prove more than that. Well, I submit to you that we need to change the law to make sure that that's a violation.
The Supreme Court decision was based in part on the fact that Louisiana had no laws governing the disposal of chemical waste. The court also relied on a health survey, which said that there was no proof of any health hazard to residents living near the site. But the stories Peggy heard left her suspicious.
Brain tumor removed. She has a 16-year-old brother that has a tumor that they can't remove in his stomach. And they think that the 27-year-old, the tumor is,
and I told you about the lady across
becoming active again.
I live on a block and a half street. There's 6 incidents of cancer on a block and a half street.
In '82, a health survey was done by Texas A&M, and it worked against us because in that survey they said that they didn't find an imminent health hazard.
The reason we have so much cancer
is because of our smoking and drinking and because we have so much mold and mildew here.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
We looked at that survey and we were alarmed by it because we knew that there were sick people there. We decided we were going to go out and find them. We were told, don't do this survey. Stay home. Don't do it. It will work against you.
We need to go out to the Pruitt. I'm not sure if they're still in that 1 mile radius or not. We need to look at this map. I'm not sure where they're at.
Peggy set out with her friend Mary Ellender to interview her neighbors living within 1 mile of the dump site.
That little river, and Mr. Pruitt lives right up here. Looks like they're home.
Yeah, I love this old place.
There he is on the porch. Hello, Mr. Pruitt. Mary Ellender. How are you?
Well, fair Dave. How you doing?
Hi. It's good to see you.
Did you get the line down?
The first person Peggy and Mary approached was Wilfred Pruitt, a retired farmer. Pruitt was driving near the site in 1980 when his truck was enveloped in a cloud of fumes.
Before all this taking place, about 4 years ago, I've never been sick in my life. Didn't know what it was to be sick until winter of 80 that I got that smell.
How did it affect you?
First, I had pneumonia. Then after the change, I called in another doctor, a specialist, and he told me, no, I didn't have pneumonia. I was in renal failure. When I come out of that, they told me I got toxic. And that's when they took the x-ray again, that's when they showed me up with cancer of the lung.
I lost my voice for almost 3 months, and it's been back. It's not a week yet. It's been, I'd say, about 3 or 4 days. And so far, they cannot find out what's causing it. I also suffer with headaches just from coming outside, walking in the wind. I don't know if it's, just the atmosphere outside or what it is, but it's bad. And I've gone to doctors for this also. I've gone to all kind of specialists, neurosurgeons, and so far they cannot find out what's causing it.
I'm planning on having children, but I've had problems since I've lived out here. I'm not sure, I can't say for sure that because I live out here that it's what's caused my problems, but I think it has an effect on it.
You have skin rashes frequently,
Yes, ma'am.
eye irritation,
Right.
an ulcerated stomach,
I've had that, yes, ma'am.
inflammation of intestine lining,
That's true.
kidney disorders,
Yes, ma'am.
menstrual disorders.
Yes, ma'am.
You had a D&C in May of '83,
Right.
infertility problems.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't want to have any kids. I told her myself. I said, don't have any kids and drag it through the mess we're going through here.
If I never have a child, I would feel cheated because, why do you get married in the first place? To have children. And then when you get older, you enjoy your children, watching them grow up and get married and have children and whatever.
Anything that we can get as far as a breakdown on all these things, not
Mary and I became more emotionally involved.
or too
We were
general.
just overwhelmed. We sat in the car. We had mud on our feet. We had been smelling the chemicals. One lady was sitting there with a handkerchief in her hand. Her nose was bleeding. She had no place to go. I mean, she's there. She's stuck for life. All of the women say in these households, where can we go? We'd like to go, but the men, these are their roots.
About 5 days ago, I started complaining with stomach trouble. So I came in one day from work and told Mom I was going to take a physical exam. So I went to Sulphur and I met a doctor. Said he couldn't find anything. I told him, I said, Doc, we got a hazard waste site out there. He said, well, what do it seem to be bothering y'all with? I said, breathing and everything. I said, and we got water problems up there. Well, he said, get off the water. Off the water, got all right.
My gosh, Herbert, what is this?
This is how we got the haul of drinking water.
Where does it come from?
Come from Sulphur, DeQuincy, Moss Bluff, and out of the stores. The bottles with the green label, blue label on is out of the stores.
What does this cost you?
All right, 60 or 70 to 80 cents a gallon.
Do you bathe in it?
We can't haul enough water to bathe in. We got to bathe in the water out of the well.
Are the cattle producing more? Nobody cares about these people. Literally, they do not care.
stumps been in, they've been produced in less.
We interviewed 115 people, and what we found was that there was not a home, that there was not an illness.
Something wrong with the blood of the livestock.
I think we don't always need to wait for finite evidence to show that, yes, this does it. I think perhaps there should be a move to the point to where if there is evidence strongly indicating certain things, it should be done then.
We all talk about it. We live with it. We can't get away from it. I have personal friends nearby that have had cancer and other related diseases. Every time we lose another one, we feel that it must be related some way to our environment. And I fear that it is, though I certainly can't go to court and prove it, can I?
As a scientist, my general thoughts are, let's wait for proof. As a human being, as a father, my thoughts are, I don't want to take that chance.
In March 1984, Peggy took her findings to Washington, D.C. to speak out for the people of her community.
Well, the first time I went to the Capitol, I remember walking in and I was so frightened. Here was 30, 40 men, all with law degrees. I'd never heard of a hydrologist, a toxicologist, an aquifer. I was so scared I sat down at the table and my knees were trembling. I was so intimidated by these people. But after I just kept going and going and going, they began to admire what we were doing and say, hey, what you're doing is good.
Hey, why don't I meet you right here? Great place to meet.
Okay,
Bye.
give them hell.
Peggy was scheduled to meet with Louisiana Senator Bennett Johnston. But when she arrived, he was in a hearing. She was told she would have to meet him during a 10-minute break in a crowded Senate hallway.
Hi, so nice to see you.
Sorry I was late. We were just voting on aid to El Salvador, and it was decided by one vote, so just could not leave.
I know it's very important. This is not the way I wanted to be. I wanted it to be more personal. I don't have a lot of time to spend taking up your important time, so we're just going to get to business in a speedy way. I represent Water District Number 11 in Calcasieu Parish, north of Sulphur. As you know, the Chico Aquifer is contaminated, and that's what our water wells, that's how we depend on our water right now. We're in dire need of water. My neighbors are dying. We have no place to go. So here I am, Peggy Franklin in Washington, hustling funds. We felt that you would be the one that could guide us, and I'm here to say, where can we go from here?
We've got to find a way to get water into the Sulphur area. I'm frank to say I cannot tell you at this point exactly how we're going to do it. Exactly what we can do.
Can something be done?
I can promise you that I'll work on the problem. I can't promise you that I can get the...
Are there any funds available?
I don't know that.
When will you know that?
Well, I've just been asked 2 minutes ago. These things are not easy.
All right, I'll have a meeting Monday. What can I go back and say to Senator
You
Johnston?
can tell them that Senator Johnston and his staff has promised full efforts on this. They recognize the severity of the problem. They will do everything they can to solve it.
Okay, we won't start this project. Okay, this is a letter from the committee, and we want to start this right away. We can't wait 2 years because we don't have the time.
I promise you I will work on it, but I can't tell you the answer to a complicated problem immediately. There may not be a fund. It may take a federal law to pass. I just don't know.
Okay, I would like you to spend as much time on this as El Salvador, because El Salvador today, but Sulphur forever. I mean, you're going to have to pass through that state.
All right, do we know how to get in touch with, you know, Skip Walton?
Yes, I met him earlier. Okay, I really appreciate you taking time. I know your schedule's busy. But I like what you're doing. Keep it up.
Thank
okay?
you.
Bye-bye.
The efforts of Peggy and her neighbors are beginning to have some effect. Recently, Louisiana passed its first laws regarding waste disposal. It is now illegal to discharge hazardous waste into the waters of the state, including the underground aquifers. disposal companies must also report any site leakage immediately. As a result, the waste site near Peggy's home is under investigation by the State Department of Environmental Quality.
I feel for the entire United States. I don't feel for Peggy Franklin, Sulphur, Louisiana. I feel for every human being that is faced with this problem.